Well, here I am, looking a lot like Jack Hargreaves again. Oh, now, showing my age with that one. Okay. As I said yesterday, I really wasn't expecting to make another video quite so soon. I shouldn't really look at all this UAP, ET, piffle peddler rubbish while I'm having my breakfast, but I made the mistake of doing that again today. And I was inspired to make another rant video. Now, this is getting beyond ridiculous. Lou Elizondo says what he's actually saying is there might be a threat to his safety. That's why he's saying he's not suicidal, he's not feeling unwell. There might be a threat to his safety. There again, there might not. I mean, there might be a threat to my safety. There might be a threat to your safety, but there probably isn't, is there? You know, walking across the road is a threat to my safety. This is just nonsense. It's meaningless, isn't it? You know, there might be a threat to my safety. Danny Sheehan says a person who is knowledgeable about the program has committed suicide, suggesting Elizondo's life is at risk. Now, this is obviously, I think the pre-orders for the books are well down on what they expected them to be. They need to generate some intrigue. You know, they need to create desire for this book. So now someone who is knowledgeable about the program supposedly is this crashed ET craft recovery program, has committed suicide. Now, the person is not named. Their death can't be verified. The manner of their death can't be verified. This is all pie in the sky, hypothetical rubbish, isn't it? You know, there might be a threat. Someone knowledgeable about the program has died. Why not name them? Because they know investigators will look into it and say this guy's this guy, if this guy is in fact dead, that it was a real suicide. Or that knowledgeable about the program means he was told about it by David Grush or Eric Davis or Hal Puthoff or any of this other long list of names that have been peddling this stuff for decades, years. Knowledgeable about the program. How vague is that? Does that mean he had first-hand knowledge of the program and he was working within the program and he had hands-on ET materials? What does knowledgeable about the program mean? I'm knowledgeable about the program. I read stuff and watch stuff on YouTube that are telling me that this is going on all the time. I'm knowledgeable that supposedly this program is out there. I don't believe it's out there. Does that make me knowledgeable about the program? That I know Grush is telling this story, that I know Elizondo is telling this story, Eric Davis is telling this story, Bob Lazar is telling this story. Does that make me knowledgeable about the program? It's ridiculous. So Elizondo says he's not suicidal, he's not unwell. This is just drama for book sales. Okay, he's got to generate some interest in this book. Pre-orders must be well down. So if Elizondo was going to be killed over what he's talking about or what he's put in this book, it would have happened years ago, wouldn't it? He resigned his job in the Pentagon to spill the beans. He's never done that. There's no beans to spill. He's been spruiking this nonsense for 7 years. He's been telling us, he's writing a book about it for years. Why wasn't he killed beforehand to stop the book being written? If someone was going to kill him to shut him up, why not do it 7 years ago? Why not push him under a bus as soon as he walked out of the Pentagon? Why wait till now, till he's written a book about it, to threaten him? And he's not saying he's been threatened. He's saying he might. He might. There might be threats to his safety. What you've got to bear in mind too is, you know, he's also said that Dopser has cleared every word in the book. You know, they're not going to kill him if they're saying, yeah, that's okay, you can publish that. Why would they kill him? It makes no sense at all. None of this does. It's all fake drama, fake intrigue to boost the book interest. That's all it is. Dopser have said, yeah, you can write that. It's no problem. Why would they have said that? If they're going to kill him. He's also said he's not for disclosure. So what's going to be in the book? He's not for disclosure. Why would they kill him? So what he's saying is if he knew anything, he's not going to tell you anyway. He's not going to violate his NDA. Again, you know, if he knew anything, he's not going to tell you anyway. He's not going to write anything in the book. There's nothing to write. As I said yesterday, he's hiding behind the NDA, giving the impression that aliens are behind the NDA when they're not. He would have had to sign an NDA to work for the Pentagon. So his life is not in danger. This is all rubbish. He's been spruiking it for years. They would have killed him long before now. Dopser wouldn't have cleared every word in the book for publication. He said he's not for disclosure, and he said he's not going to violate his NDA. Why might he be in danger? What a load of complete and utter rubbish. Absolute rubbish. And I was watching Gary Nolan on the UFO podcast this morning. This guy is all over the place. He says Sol isn't interested in a Twitter war. They're not interested in a Twitter war, yet he said that Neil deGrasse Tyson should have his PhD revoked. This is Nolan. He's also attacked SETI, saying what a load of rubbish and how ridiculous it is. You know, he doesn't want a Twitter war. Why is he coming out with stuff like that? All deGrasse Tyson has ever said is, well, you know, if it's happening, show us the evidence. That's all I've ever said. If it's really happening, show us some tangible evidence. That's all deGrasse Tyson is saying. And Nolan is saying he should lose his PhD for that. That's outrageous. Apparently Sol wants to remain neutral. Yet watching the presenters at their conference, you would never get that impression, would you? Because you've got a retired admiral saying, oh yeah, there's a number of, half a dozen ET species that come in here and they're interacting with us. How is that neutral? Several species are interacting with us. Other speakers have said the same thing at the Sol Foundation conference. How is that neutral? And he says, it's an academic setting. The presenters have to be presenting something credible. I appear to be moving here, and that's because I am moving. I'm on a reasonably soft surface, and my chair is sinking on the right-hand side. So the Sol Foundation is an academic setting. The presenters have to be presenting something credible because it's an academic setting, But telling us that the planet is being visited by half a dozen alien species and they're interacting with us without any tangible evidence to support that monumental statement is just like saying the Nazis won the Second World War. Hitler is alive and well and he's been living in Buckingham Palace since 1945. You can go and get a selfie taken with him this afternoon if you happen to be in London. It's ludicrous, isn't it? It's nonsense. Double standards abound. You know, the argument with the debunkers is over. Well, it certainly isn't, is it? You know, the only way the argument with the debunkers is going to be over is to present some tangible evidence that any of this is true. You know, I mean, you know, they can put their heads in the sand. They can put their fingers in their ears and ignore the debunkers. But the argument with the debunkers is not over. Their case is not proven. How can it possibly be over? To prove their case, they're going to have to come up with some pretty significant, tangible evidence to support ET coming here. I'm not seeing any. I'm not seeing any selfies with aliens. Not that that would be proof, but it would be something. I'm not seeing academics coming forward and saying, well, you know, this is a piece of alien spacecraft. You know, this is a piece of alien biological material. You know, it's been peer reviewed by a number of universities around the world. It's ET. I'm not seeing that. Until I see that, the argument is not over. Nolan knows the argument with the debunkers is not over. All he can do is stick his fingers in his ears and whistle, because he doesn't want to know anything about what the debunkers are saying, because he's got no argument against it. All he can do is sit there and say, oh, it's true. Yeah, I know it's true. You know, take my word for it, it's true. And that is just not good enough when it comes to ET visiting this planet. It's just not good enough. Nolan says he also doesn't trust Arrow when he goes on to talk about Sean Kirkpatrick. Well, Kirkpatrick's not there anymore. Does he trust Arrow now? Now, this is quite funny. You know, if Arrow had told him that it was all true, you know, he would love Arrow. But he's saying he doesn't trust Arrow. He said Arrow should show the evidence that led them to their conclusions. Gary Nolan says Arrow should show the evidence that led them to their conclusions. Yet we don't see any evidence from Nolan or the Sol Foundation, the Admiral, Colonel Nell, any of these other people. We don't see any tangible evidence from them you know, to show that their conclusions are real, do we? It's double standards. Again, take our word for it, it's all true. Not good enough. Anyone that says it's not true is suspect. You know, Arrow, oh no, no. What a stench coming from Arrow. Because Arrow's looked into it and there's nothing there. So, if you want anyone to take this seriously, Sol Foundation, Gary Nolan, any of you guys, present some tangible evidence. Admiral, I can't remember his name, the 6 species coming and interfacing with the human race. Interfacing with us, interacting with us. Show us some tangible evidence of that. Don't just stand in front of a crowd of academics that are going to pat you on the back for listening to your science fiction stories. Show us it's true. Prove it's true. Or as I said yesterday, STFU. It's getting tedious. The Sol Foundation has shown zero evidence to support the wild claims of their presenters. That's the bottom line, isn't it? The Sol Foundation has produced zero tangible evidence to support the wild claims of their presenters. That's the bottom line, isn't it? You've got tangible evidence, take it and show it to Arrow. I think Nolan is saying he doesn't trust Arrow to give him an excuse so he can say, well, I don't want to show Arrow any evidence, you know. He's got to come up with a reason why he can't show Arrow or anybody else any tangible evidence that ET is actually coming here. It's all rubbish, absolute rubbish. Double standards abound, okay? Now, on this UFO podcast, this shit sinking into the ground. I'm going to be like that in a minute. I'm actually a bit like that now, aren't I? But I'm not going to do it again. Bit of comedy relief, you know, it may improve the view rate. As I've said before, I don't need to go crazy with this stuff. I have a day job that I thoroughly enjoy, so I don't need to make a career out of this. I just find this stuff irksome, and I think somebody should be saying something about it. You know, you put any negative comments or any comments that ask any serious questions about any of this stuff on any of these YouTube channels. I don't look at all this other stuff, Twitter and all this other. Can't be bothered with it. It's immediately deleted. Where was I? Okay, so Nolan was asked on this UFO podcast this morning. Nolan was asked about his SALT appearance. Now, SALT is actually the Skybridge Alternatives Conference, and I did wonder why the UFO Brigade would be there. You know, I thought it was some sort of investment conference. You know, and I thought, well, it would make sense that they're going to be there, sort of begging for money, maybe investment to look into all this bloody rubbish, so they can live a nice life and say, oh yeah, I went and spoke to someone in Texas about his ball, you know. Anyway, it's the Skybridge Alternatives Conference. So the alternatives part of it is presumably why the UFO guys get invited along. Anyway, Nolan was there last year, I think it was, or the year before, and he was asked, what do you think is the likelihood that ET has been here? Nolan said 100%. Now, on the UFO podcast that I saw this morning, and I think it's a fresh one, he said, this is just an opinion. It's just an opinion. He said, I haven't shaken hands or tentacles with an alien. It's just an opinion, okay? So why didn't he say, I knew 100% because I'd actually seen aliens when I was a kid, you know. Aliens were at the bottom of the bed. They were there for weeks on end. They were looking through the windows. Why didn't he say that like he did on that podcast the other week? I made a video about that with him talking to Coulthard and with him on the other podcast. And I asked the question, why didn't he mention that to Coulthard? When Coulthard said to him, you know, what experience, have you got any experience with ET? And he said... And he said, oh, I saw a shadow when I was a kid, when I was a paper boy, you know. He didn't say anything about aliens at the bottom of the bed, aliens looking through the window, an alien at the bottom of his bed when he was about to start his new job as a professor at Stanford, who spoke to him telepathically in English. Didn't mention any of that. And then on the UFO podcast today, he's saying it's just an opinion. Why didn't he mention any of that? Why didn't he say, yeah, well, 100%, I know, I've seen aliens. I've seen them in my bedroom. I've seen them looking through the windows. One spoke to me just as I was starting my new job at Stanford. Why didn't he say any of that on the UFO podcast this morning? He's all over the place. Personal opinion, Gary Nolan, zero credibility when it comes to ET and all that sort of stuff. I'm not talking about his professional line of work. When it comes to ET and aliens, put a line through Gary Nolan. It's nonsense. His story is all over the place. I found the only soft spot up here for one chair leg. Something absolutely knows. So, so Nolan said it's just his opinion that they're here. It's not something that he absolutely knows. If it's not something that he absolutely knows, where does the story about the aliens at the bottom of the bed and looking through the window come from? The story about the alien talking to him telepathically in English when he was about to start his job as a Stanford professor. Where does that come from? if it's not something he absolutely knows. Anyway, I think that's it. So, as I said yesterday, I'm finding this stuff irksome. You know, admittedly, you know, when I have my breakfast in the morning, I sort of look at 2 or 3 channels and see what's going on with regard to all this stuff. Have a cup of coffee, you know. And it's a nice way to start the day. It gives me a laugh, if nothing else. And I just saw that thing this morning with Danny Sheehan, you know. A person who's knowledgeable about the program. No names, can't be investigated, can't be checked. What does knowledgeable mean? You know, committed suicide, this knowledgeable person apparently. You know, Lou Elizondo says there might be a threat to his safety. There might be a threat to his safety. There might be a threat to my safety every time I get in my car. Or your safety, every time you walk under a tree, you know. It's meaningless rubbish. All of this is meaningless rubbish. And a lot of it, I think, it revolves around generating this, keeping this industry alive, you know. Selling books, selling DVDs, talking fees, interview appearances, for reasons best known to themselves. A lot of these people just want to feel important, you know. They want to feel that they're different. They know all about this, you know. They're in with the super secret stuff. When there's no super secret ET stuff to be in with. It's all pie in the sky. But the pies aren't landing or crashing. You know, so Lou Elizondo, as I said at the beginning, you know, if they were going to kill Lou Elizondo, it would have happened years ago, before he wrote the book. They wouldn't let him write a book and then kill him. They wouldn't. Dopsa wouldn't say, yeah, sure, you can publish that, if there was anything in it that was worth killing somebody over. You know, Elizondo said he's not for disclosure. So what are you expecting to be in the book? He's hiding behind an NDA. He's not going to violate his NDA. That's an excuse, because he can't put anything in the book that's revolutionary about ET coming here. That's why he's saying this sort of stuff. He's not for disclosure. He's not going to violate his NDA. He's hiding behind that NDA, giving the impression there is something behind it worth hiding, ET related, and there's not. You know, years ago, Bob Lazar said, oh, you know, when I was a teenager, I had a particle accelerator in my bedroom. Now, that's probably not a lie, because when I was a teenager, I had a particle accelerator in my bedroom. You probably had particle accelerators in your bedroom, because in those days, televisions had cathode ray tubes in them. Cathode ray tube accelerates electrons up the neck and it's scans a picture. Cathode ray tube in a television is technically a particle accelerator. See what I mean? It's the way they use, the language they use can give the impression something's happening when it isn't. Just like Bob Lazar's particle accelerator. You know? He had a television in his bedroom when he was a teenager, is what he's saying. So, before all you can see is the top of my hat as I sink into the ground, I'll say, as always, if you've struggled through the video all the way to this point, many thanks for watching, and maybe I'll catch you again.